Hello, welcome ladies to your post-Christmas Zoom. I'm very proud of
The
you
next
for being
workout will
here.
begin in
Our
60
next workout
seconds.
is going to
Please
begin in
proceed to a
60
station.
seconds. So we're going to bring the hands up behind the ears. We're going to start with a high march. Belly button in, we're pulling from the lower abdominals and our landings are nice and light. Shoulders are back and down, the neck is incredibly long, rib cage lightly lifted. We want to make sure that we are not slouching here. And the string pulling us through the top of the head. The elbows stay wide, so not quite so narrow. Unless, of course, if you have a shoulder issue, if your shoulders don't like having the elbows out this wide, you can have a relaxed elbow. But the key is just to make sure that you keep yourself from rounding through the chest and the upper back. Just getting moving here. We're going to start getting nice and warm. It is a chilly day. My goodness. Very nice. We're adding a little rotation. Essentially, we're sending one armpit toward the knee. Now, I specify the armpit because a lot of times I see this.
Begin set one.
We don't really want those elbows to cave forward. Thinking about our abdominals, we're doing a across the body squeeze. And we're going to pick up the pace just a little bit here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Your landings are as soft as humanly possible. Basically, we don't want any stopping. Very good. I hope everyone had a nice holiday, even if it had to be a little bit more low-key this year. 1, 2, 1,
Stop,
2.
exercise.
Beautiful. And I'm sure that everyone is still enjoying leftovers. I certainly am, so it feels good to get moving. Dave, just give me a thumbs up in the back. Yes, agreed. And we got 4. And we got
set
3, 2, 1. Very good. Let's go ahead and bring those arms behind the back. We're going to soften the knees, please. Hips go back, chest comes down. We're going to squeeze those glutes as we come up and up to the toes. Hips back, squeeze, and lift. Very nice. Now what we're working for here is a neutral lower back. Essentially, when we come down, we want to make sure we're not rounding the back down, nor are we overarching. Nice
Stop,
and flat.
exercise.
Good. Set 3, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing, but the hands, now that your chest is nice and open, hands are going to come to the shoulders. Good. Hips back, chest down, come up, and
Begin
roll those
set
elbows
3.
around, beginning to open up that chest. Very good. Now our equipment today is fairly minimal. A mat, a pair of weights, but also a pillow or a squishy ball. Beautiful. Let's do 2 more just like that. Squeezing those glutes, driving through the heels, rolling it up. Beautiful. Last one. Very nice. Let's bring the hands forward. We're going to kick those heels back, straight up the back of that thigh.
Stop,
and row.
exercise.
Row. Now we want to make sure that the heel is aligned with the thigh. Essentially, you're trying to kick straight up towards your own booty, so we're not flaring out like this, nor are we falling in like this. Very good. At the end of the set, we're going to come
4.
right down to the mat, and we're going to start in a kneeling position. We're starting with mat work today. Beautiful. Keeping that core nice and tight, chest open, even as those arms come forward. We want to make sure that we're never caving. Watch that posture, ladies. Always very nice. Open through the chest, regal. Good. Get that breath going. Hopefully your core temperature is up a little bit.
Stop, exercise,
3,
and switch to the next
2,
station.
and 1. Very good. So we're going to come on down to the mat and come up onto our knees. Now, if you have sensitive knees, I recommend a pillow right underneath, something to give you a little bit more cushioning, especially if you have a thin mat.
Begin set 1.
The first thing I want you to do is squeeze your booty. Little glute squeeze back here. You're going to keep that glute squeezed and bring your hands in front of the chest. Now from here, we're going to lean back and hold. We should feel a small extension through the front of the thighs here, and then we're going to squeeze through the front of the quads, come all the way up. And we're just gonna go into some rocks, back and forth. Now we do wanna make sure abs are tight, glutes are engaged, because what we don't want is
Stop
hyperextension
exercise.
like that. That would not be so good. And we're gonna keep on going through the break. Because at first, this exercise, kind of mild. Very nice. Now for set 2, I'm gonna show you another version. If for whatever
Begin set
reason
2.
your knees or your lower back doesn't like this one, here's version 2. You're gonna send your hips back, but this time you keep your torso stacked, meaning you're no longer leaning back. This is version 1. You are now stacking as you go back. That's version 2. So I'm gonna keep doing version 2 here. Now the biggest thing with this is you are not gonna feel it if you bring your chest down too far. We're not hinging the body forward, we're hinging the hips back. It's a small distinction, but it's important.
Stop exercise.
Very good. Now we can take a little break. Up to you if you liked version 1 better or if you liked version 2 better. I'm gonna show you what we're doing next with version 1 again, in case you need a reminder. So version 1,
Begin set
tight
3.
glutes, tight abs, and lean. This time you're gonna lean, you're gonna hold it. Now your feet, by the way, feet generally flat. Don't really want a flexed foot on this one. So hold that lean, take a deep breath, set your abs, and go back a little farther. Whoop, and hold. Take a deep breath, go back a little farther. Whoop, and hold. Your quads should immediately start to burn. One more time. Deep breath in. Squeeze your abs, squeeze your glutes.
Exercise.
Go back a little farther and come all the way up. Take a break. Excellent. Set 4, I'm going to show you the same pattern, but with version 2. If you already know you like version 2, that's great. Stick with it. If you like version 1, you can stick with that.
Begin set 4.
But this time, you're hinging slightly at the hips and you're coming down, but your torso is staying stacked. Your glutes are not going to be as engaged for this one, but your abs definitely should be. Take a deep breath and come down and hold. Now it's very tempting to bring the chest forward every time you come down. You are not going to do that. You're going to keep your spine stacked. Deep breath. Exhale, come down and hold. Ah! Oh, hello thighs. Deep breath.
Stop exercise and switch
hold.
to the next
Ooh,
station.
drop it all the way down. Beautiful. We're going to go into a push-up next. Now, the first thing I want to go over is a proper high knee plank position. So, you're going to start on your hands and knees. You're
Begin
going to
set
walk
1.
your hands forward, and you're going to take your booty, tuck it, and create a straight line from your knee to the top of your head. Now, what I see a lot during a knee push-up is this, where the butt is up in the air. What I'd like you to do is try taking your hips down and in line, and then your whole body is going to move in a single piece, down and up. Now, this position I have right now
Stop exercise.
is fairly wide. Go ahead and take a break if you need it. If your shoulders like a wide position, you're going to go ahead and stay there. However, I'm going to show you version 2, a narrow position with the hands.
Begin set 2.
So hands closer together. Elbows are going to go straight back. Make sure your butt isn't up in the air. You're going to tuck that booty. You're going to bring it right in line, and the elbows stay close to the rib cage. This is a different kind of push-up. Take your time. This also recruits the triceps, which is a smaller muscle group, so these can be a little more challenging than a wide knee push-up. But please, keep your plank position. Make sure that you don't cobra up. Make sure that your hips don't break. Go ahead and take a quick break. Child's pose if you like. Now, if you have very sensitive shoulders and being in that plank position is difficult for you, that is the only time when I'm like, okay, you can hinge your
Begin set
hips.
3.
Because this, the hinge, doesn't give you a lot of body weight to create resistance, which is why this is vastly preferable. But if you really do have a shoulder impingement or maybe injury, unless you have one of those things, I really want you to keep this tight plank position. Down and up. So you'll notice I'm going back to wide. Very important here that you keep your eyes fairly forward. A lot of times I see the head drop like so. It's okay to check on your form once in a while, but we want to make sure that we don't make a habit of letting our skull dangle down. Make sure the lower back
begin set
is
4.
flat. And this is set 4. Keep going, ladies. If you're in the correct position, I'm going to show you once again, narrow. I'm also going to show you monkey paw. Now, if your wrists are sensitive, you're always welcome to come into monkey paw. Monkey paw is up on the strongest knuckle. So a lot of times when I say up on the knuckle, I see this. That is still flexing the wrist. You want to be on the same knuckle that you would punch somebody with.
Stop exercise and switch to the next station.
We're going to go ahead and stay right here. Give me a child's pose first, because we're about to go to planks, baby. So we're kind of compounding the same muscle group here. We've just worked our shoulders and our chest and our core. We are going to continue to work the shoulders, chest, and core as we come down into a normal plank for set 1. So, hips, again, right in line. Just like if we wouldn't pike in a push-up, we also want to make sure that we're not piking in our plank. Tailbone is tucked, keeping that back nice and flat. It's very important that we do not bow through the lower back like so. That can cause a lot of pressure on the area. Belly button is pulled in, nice and tight.
Stop exercise.
Very gently, drop your knees and come on back. Now, if you have any shoulder or lower back issues with a regular plank, you are welcome to hold a knee plank. For those of you who are happy with a full plank, you're going to stick with that.
Begin set 2.
But a knee plank is very similar to our knee push-up position, except that we're on our elbows instead of our hands. Now, for some people, this is very common, and I'm guilty of this too. I have an injury, I don't want to modify, because I'm like, a modification feels like a step backwards. I would encourage you to do your knee plank and take it as an opportunity to really focus on your core. Your shoulders are not working as hard because your knees are down,
exercise.
Right? So this is an opportunity to really think about, and you can take a break here, really think about those lower abs trying to come up and mate the bottom ribs. You're trying to cinch your abs together this way. And that is where a lot of that ab work comes from specifically. Good. Set 3. Your choice, knee plank or full plank. Now, if your shoulders are like a little tender, or maybe you just feel kind of weak today, not weak, but tired, you know what I mean? You're welcome to drop between the two. Knee plank, then press through the toes, full plank. Then drop the knees, knee plank. Now here's something that's really important. If you're going to go ahead and take a break, ladies. If you're going to do that transition between the two, the knee to the full plank, you have to make sure that your lower back does not sag. It's very common for people to drop their knees and then leave their hips there while they come into a full plank. And eventually, when they do it over and over again, their hips start to sag. All right, set 4, your choice. I'm gonna do the transition one as a reminder. So, full plank, tailbone tucked, core is tight. Knee plank, hips are in line. They may need to drop a little bit, but that means when you go back up into your full plank, you can get a little bit of lift and then find your neutral. Knee plank, focus on your abs, tuck your tailbone. Full plank. Make sure your hips are in line, feel the work through the shoulders.
Stop exercise and switch to the next station.
Beautiful. Hips back, give me a lovely child's pose. We're gonna go into our bridges next and go ahead and grab that pillow. Hello. Pillow goes between the thighs. Feet.
Begin set 1.
Make sure they're not too far apart. You want them close-ish together. You're gonna lie down on your back. Go ahead and squeeze your glutes and lift your hips up. And the first thing you're gonna do is just pulse the ball or pillow. Essentially, we're getting small, controlled inner thigh work here. Now about 70% of your weight should be in your heels. I say 70% because I don't want you to lift your toes up off the mat, not today.
Stop exercise.
You should, however, be able to wiggle your toes lightly. Good, pulse, pulse, pulse. Hold, if you can. If you need to take a break, that's okay. Squeeze your booty hard. Set 2, we're going to alternate. We're going to pulse
set 2.
through the hips 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then through the legs, pulsing against the ball. 2, 3, and then the booty again. So you're alternating. Booty, booty, then knees, knees, knees. You got your butt, your butt, your butt. Then inner thighs, inner thighs, inner thighs. Then you squeeze your booty.
Stop exercise.
Booty. Booty, go ahead and take a break here. Whoo. The ball is gonna stay where it is. Sets 3 and 4, we're gonna change it up a little bit.
Begin set 3.
All right, here we go. Come on up. Squeeze the ball. Plant your arms at your sides because we're going to march. The hands will help us with our stability. So you're gonna pull one knee up just an inch and then back down. Squeeze the ball. Other knee, up an inch, back down. Squeeze the ball. You'll notice I have to keep my movement small. If I do it too big, I'm gonna lose the ball, right? I also want those landings to be incredibly soft.
Exercise.
Up and down. There's an unfortunate habit that people have of going like that. Good, take a break. Set 4, an optional progression. You'll notice before we marched by pulling the knees up.
Begin set
This
4.
next one's gonna be a little different. You're gonna keep your thighs and your knees exactly where you are, but all you're gonna do is lift the foot up and then drop and then squeeze the ball. So the ball and the thighs shouldn't really be rolling or moving. What you're doing is extending from the knee. Thigh is very stable, but you achieve a straight leg and then drop down. A little bit tougher for the hamstrings. Oh, it feels so good to do strength training. Good. That's
Stop
beautiful.
exercise and
Woo.
switch to the next
Drop your
station.
hips. Very good. You're gonna grab your ball between your hands and you're gonna sit up on your butt. Mindfully. Now I'm gonna turn to face the camera. We're going to do an ab and quad exercise because I felt like this little kneeling lean backs
Begin
weren't
set
enough.
1.
So you're going to keep your knees nice and soft. Ball between the hands. You're gonna squeeze the ball and lean back. This is number 1. Now you notice when I squeeze the ball, I have my elbows out to the side. Some people who might have shoulder injuries, you can keep your elbows narrow, but I find that if I'm trying to work my chest, which is what we're doing here, to get that squeezing, it helps to have my elbows a little wider, but it's up to you. Lower back is nice and flat. You want to make sure that you are tucking your tailbone just enough to keep your back nice and flat. And when you lean back, very important that you focus on the upper abdominals. Every inch of depth you're getting is not controlled from your back, it's controlled by your abs.
Begin
If your back
set
starts to
2.
feel tired, go ahead and take a quick little break here if you need to. If your back starts to feel tired, I want you to refocus all your energy to those abs. And squeeze, and hold, and abs are tight. Good, set 2. We're gonna march. 1, 2. 1, 2. So you should feel a little bit of added lower abdominal work. You should also feel a little bit of added work through the hip flexors and the top of the quads here. Chest should start to burn a little bit because you're squeezing that.
Stop exercise.
Beautiful. Here, I'm going to have you let your knees fall open very, very gently. You're going to allow yourself to move forward. Tiniest stretch for the lower back. Always really important that you don't force it.
Begin set 3.
Very good. Sets 3 and 4. The quad work's going to get a little more intensive. Squeeze the ball, knees up and soft, not too close, not too far. Tuck the tailbone, belly button in, right thigh extends. Drop and tap and extend. Now, if your lower back really doesn't like this lean, you can do this on your back. It won't be quite as challenging for that quad, but you'll still get a quad squeeze. Extend and tap. So now we should feel the work a little bit more into the belly of the quad. You should feel it here and just above the knee. That's the end of set 3. Allow your knees to fall open. Very soft little curl forward. Nice deep breath. Beautiful. Set 4, same thing.
Begin set
on
4.
the other side. Ball, elbows, squeeze. Belly button in, tailbone tucked slightly, lean back, knees pointing up, extend and tap. Extend and tap. Now, a lot of times what I'll see is this. People will extend and then kind of drop that thigh down. I want you to do your best to try to keep your thighs parallel to each other. So let's see if I can, So it'll look like this. Full extension and drop, as opposed to letting
Stop exercise and switch to the next.
That is very
station.
good. Go ahead and put your ball to the side. You're gonna roll over onto your back, pull the knees in, give your lower back a little reprieve. And we're gonna turn over onto our sides. Up onto those elbows.
Begin set 1.
We're gonna begin with, actually, let's do a full extension of that leg, and you're gonna come up and pulse at the very top, hitting those outer thighs. When we did those bridges, we did a lot of inner thigh squeezing. Here we're doing outer thigh pulsing. Now, being up on the elbow is optional. You can come all the way down. However, what I will say about that is that makes things easier here. So I want you to compensate a little bit with the height of the leg if you're down. Absolutely legitimate.
Stop exercise.
Very good. Now I'm going to have you go ahead and stay on this set because we're going to add a little progression for the people who'd like to try. You're going to bend the lower knee and squeeze your glutes so that both thighs are in line. Essentially what I don't want is this. So both thighs are lined up.
2.
You're going to pulse 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Lift your hips up. 1, 2, 3. Drop your hips down. 1, 2, 3. Lift your hips up. 1, 2, 3. Good. We are alternating leg pulses with a side plank. Pulse, pulse. Drop those hips and 1, 2, 3. Side plank and 1.
Stop
2
exercise.
and 3. Very good. Woo! Getting some outer thigh burn. Go ahead and switch on over to the other side. As a reminder, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You are welcome.
Begin set
Come
3.
down onto the elbow. Now what I do want from anyone who's doing the modified version like this, those hips need to stay stacked. A lot of times I'll see this, right? Rolling back onto the booty. Hips stacked right on top of each other. Glutes lightly engaged just to make sure that those hips are in line. Belly button is in so that you still get a little bit of ab work. If you really do need to bring that bottom knee forward just a little bit, that's okay. Unless, of course, you're doing the progression.
Stop exercise.
Good, go ahead and take that break. Now, of course, there is always another way to make it harder. So, progression number 2, instead of coming up and then down and pulsing, you're going to come up, side plank,
Begin
and hold,
set 4.
and pulse the whole time. Like so. I'm going to try to do this. It's been a while. up, and pulse. Now, you have no reprieve. Your lower hip is probably a little tired from what you've done before, but I want you to pull that belly button in. I want you to pay attention to your waist on the lower side here. That's working as well. And this hip should be burning like crazy. Mine certainly is. Beautiful. Keep your hips up. You've got this.
Stop exercise and switch to the next station.
Gorgeous. Very nice. We're going to come to standing for our last exercise. Oh my God, it burns. It burns so good. And we're gonna grab our hand weights. And we're gonna go into some rows. Now,
Begin
I've taught rows
set one.
before. I often will begin teaching them like so. So let's begin in this position. This is a big letter A. A lot of times people feel kind of wobbly in this position. They're in a tightrope. If that's you, you can bring that back foot out to the side. Widening, widening your base of support. Belly button is in and the back is flat. Your chest is open and you're pulling your elbows up and you're squeezing your shoulder blades.
Stop
Very
exercise.
good. Go ahead and take a break if you need to. Now, if you have a sensitive lower back, I want you to keep that position. Essentially, that back leg acts as a kickstand for you. If you'd like to switch every time, that is
Begin
absolutely
set
fine.
two.
If you need the support from that back leg, but you want to make this a little bit harder, you could bring your chest down a little farther. Now, what that does is essentially forces you to work against gravity more. This is going to feel a lot easier than this. But keep your back flat and keep your core nice and tight. Now for sets 3 and 4, I'm going to be teaching a bent over row, which means you don't get that kickstand from the back leg. If you already know your lower back is tender today, don't attempt
Stop
this.
exercise.
Good. But for those of you who'd like to give it a try, here's what we're going to do. Soft knees, please. No locked knees for this. You're going to shift your weight back into your heels, and then you're going to take your tailbone, you're going to drive it back to the back wall.
Begin
Your
set
chest is going
3.
to come down, and the weights are going to end up floating forward somewhat, and that's okay. Pull the elbows up and squeeze. Now, if you remember the warm-up we did earlier, these guys, this is the same thing. You're keeping a neutral back. You are not curling your tailbone underneath you, nor are you overarching. But being in this hinged position for a long time can feel a little taxing for the lower back sometimes, even if you're doing it correctly.
Stop
Go
exercise.
ahead and take a break. If that's you, it feels okay at first, but over time you're like, wow, my back's getting kind of tired. You're gonna press your belly button up to your spine hard as if you're expecting someone to punch you in the stomach.
Begin set 4.
Violent imagery, but it works. Send that tailbone back. Spine is nice and neutral, and you're going to brace your abs. Now, many times, most times, for me and for many of my clients, the minute I actually pull my abs in and brace them and set them like a brick wall, my lower back no longer feels tight. It's getting a lot of support from the abdominals. This is very important. Anytime you're doing any kind of hinging, think like deadlifts
Stop
or even
exercise.
squats.
Your training is now
Woo,
complete.
give me 2 more. 2 and 1. Very nice. Your training is now complete. What? Crazy. My goodness. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna say hi.